You're watching Local 10, home of Local10.com. WPLG Local 10 News starts now.
Well, today kicks off the beginning of the long holiday weekend, the holiday for civil rights icon Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. That happens on Monday. Well, today, Dr. King's eldest son, Martin Luther King III, was the featured speaker for the 9th annual YMCA of Broward County MLK Inspirational Breakfast in Fort Lauderdale, held at First Baptist Church. It was an honor to serve as the event's MC for the 4th straight year. I'm very proud to say that I am a Y member and a volunteer as well. Also, this year marks the 50-year anniversary of perhaps one of the greatest speeches ever delivered, the I Have a Dream speech by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. If alive today, Dr. King would have turned 84 years old this week. His 3 surviving children carry on their father's work for equal rights for all people. I sat down with King's eldest son, Martin Luther King III, for an exclusive interview about the milestone of a movement and his father, who changed our nation.
I have a dream.
August 28th, 1963.
That one day, this nation will rise up.
50 years ago, King's dream speech marked a high point for the civil rights movement.
My 4 little children.
Martin Luther King III, King's eldest son, was only 5 years old when his father shared his dream with the rest of the world.
What I remember and what happens even to this point, if I am really attuned and listening, the speech is melodious in a sense. It has so many, there's so many emotions.
Martin Luther King III is in South Florida to serve as the keynote speaker Friday for the YMCA of Broward County Inspirational Breakfast, named in honor of his father. It was at the Butler Street YMCA in Atlanta, Georgia, where Dr. King was a member and would spend hours with his family.
The YMCA was a way to relieve some of that stress, and I think from my perspective, it was just having quality time with Dad.
Nice to see you. Pleasure to see you again. And before her death in 2006, their mother, Coretta Scott King, and I sat down for several conversations.
There's nothing that can replace a parent or a sibling, and in a sense, because Dad is so well known, and every year we have various anniversaries to remember him, it's almost like he's frozen in time. There's nothing that can replace a mother, so I greatly miss her many occasions. In fact, when she first passed, it was probably 6 months before I could actually go back to the King Center. Yolanda was such a big shock. See, we knew that Mom would ultimately probably there was a strong possibility that she might not make it, but Yolanda was a total shock, and so certainly I miss her quite often. On Monday now, when President Obama, our nation's first African-American president, takes the oath of office for the 2nd time, his left hand will rest on the Bible Dr. King used before his assassination 45 years ago. We'll have that story Monday, the national holiday for Dr. King that became law exactly 30 years ago, November of 1983.
And we know that King III has a 4-year-old daughter, so he's raising children. Any dreams he mentioned for his own?
Boy, he talked about that. He talked about how the dream is not fulfilled, and he says in part because there are so many poor people out there. He said his father, before his death, his campaign for civil rights and equal rights went from that to the poor people's campaign. So he says, obviously the foreclosure crisis hit so many people. As we know, it was ground zero here in Florida. So that set a lot of people back. So he says until that is eradicated and everyone has a home and health care, he says it will be a world where a dream, Dr. King's dream, has been unfulfilled.
They'll continue his work.
That's right. Much more coming up on Monday.
New details.